They say a wilderness survival challenge means hunger and self-doubt, but check out how these participants are managing. Using only a fishing net, one participant effortlessly catches 6 sizable fish, no seasoning needed. You can practically smell it through the screen. One bite and it's rich and fatty. Pair it with some pure, natural fungus coffee, it's even better than gourmet food. I suggest everyone head to the coast, take in the views, and relish the food. Just imagining it is delightful. Once you've eaten your fill, you can relax in a hammock. This isn't wilderness survival, it's more like a wilderness vacation. Can I still sign up? It's day 7 and 2 participants have already dropped out. Today is Emil's birthday. He usually invites friends and family to celebrate, but now he's alone and hungry, feeling pretty down. He heads outside to look for food, hoping for some luck. Oddly enough, the scenery instantly lifts his spirits. He's no longer in a rush to find food and just wants to wander around and enjoy. However, as he walks, he suddenly wishes his family were there, and his mood darkens. He thinks about quitting daily, but he appears in every episode. I wonder when he'll finally quit. Emil, meanwhile, skips cloud catching and focuses on brewing his beloved fungus coffee. For Emil, it's the best coffee. Meanwhile, Levi is nearing a breakdown, waking up worried about his wife at home, worrying if his family has left him. These thoughts keep flooding his mind. To ease his anxiety, he tries to burn off energy. But when he gets to the shore, he finds his fishing net tangled in the rocks. He's definitely going hungry today and now has to spend time fixing it, making his mood even worse. He just wants to go home and rest. Levi mentally begs the producers to let him leave, even though he knows it's wrong. But he feels so frustrated. Looks like he's another one ready to leave. The only one doing okay is Alan. Even with the rain, he's still happy, but he's worried about his fishing net. If the waves bring it ashore, he'll have to go hungry and fix the net. This weather is likely to last a few more days, and he doesn't know if the fish will swim into the net. He feels a bit safer not having seen any bears. Soon, he reaches his fishing net. It's time to find out if I'll go hungry today. This spot is great. As soon as I pulled the net, fish were jumping everywhere. This made Alan really excited. If he could catch them all, he'd be set for the month. After some effort, he caught 6 fish. They were quite sizable, enough to fill his stomach. I think he has a good chance of winning as long as he can keep this up. While others fished, Emil savored his fungus coffee, which was easy to make and put him in a great mood. All he needed to do was cut some pieces with a knife and crush them. This way, it would have more flavor. He was almost done. A cup of pure, strong natural coffee was ready. Emil thought everyone should try it and hoped coffee shops would offer it someday. If he could drink this every day, he'd be in a great mood. Not everyone can handle this kind of life. He had no idea how many were still in the game, but he knew he wasn't the first out. Now, it was all about how long he could hold on. The camera then panned to Levi, tweaking his fish net. Small fish weren't cutting it, he aimed for bigger catches. I wondered why he didn't just catch all the fish at once. If it were me, I'd be worried about ending up with none, wouldn't you? Anyway, Levi was willing to spend a whole day cutting the net bit by bit. Who knows if he would catch any big fish? He had already trimmed the net and secured it with stones on both sides by the shore. Now, he could hurl it into the water with force. Stones anchored the net to prevent it from washing away. His legs trembled from the cold as he set it up. He needed to hurry back and warm up. Hopefully, the net would bring some good luck. The camera then returned to Alan. Rainy days go well with cooking fish. No seasoning needed, he just loved the pure, original taste of the fish. You could sense his happiness through the screen. He had a whole pot of fish, but no one to share it with, so he ate it alone, tears and all. This fish meal was really important. His body was already quite exhausted and without enough protein. He would eventually faint from hunger. He still believed he had a chance to win as long as he could keep catching fish. I think, apart from the food problem, he also had to cope with the loneliness. And who knows if he could catch this many fish later. Once winter arrived, no one would venture into deep water on a raft. But for now, Alan didn't have to worry about hunger. He was pleased with his fish feast, wishing he could cook and eat the rest. This is how to survive alone in the wilderness. Who wants to be hungry all the time? Everyone should try living self-sufficiently. We haven't seen Stein in a bit, but he's still hanging in there. He feels optimistic about catching fish today, but the shore's cold wind is harsher than he expected. If he had a choice, he wouldn't be here. The fishing net constantly needs fixing. Thankfully, this time it caught a fish. If not, he wouldn't want to return. Unfortunately, the fish got tangled in the net and had to be freed. The net isn't as helpful as he expected. The fish he caught is barely the size of his palm. It can only slightly appease his hunger. No one expected that Stein is actually a vegetarian. Surviving in the wild without eating meat? That's not just a challenge, it's like seeking enlightenment. You'd pass out from hunger eventually. Even though he's not skilled with fish, he did watch some videos before coming here. He tried to cut it open to see how it goes. If he wants to continue the challenge, He has to eat meat to stay in the challenge. Despite his discomfort, he cleaned the fish. The energy boost was minimal. Apart from the innards, he intended to try every part. As Stein inhaled the fish's aroma, tears rolled down his cheeks. In the wild, you can't avoid eating meat. It tasted great. He thought he'd resist, but his body craved it. He kept shoveling food in, savoring each bite, wishing he could eat like this daily. Meanwhile, Emil's emotions spiraled again. He worried that taking on this challenge would make things tough for his family, especially his wife. He spent the night dreaming of his family, feeling increasingly down. Winning the prize money now seemed out of reach. He wanted to go back and make it up to them. He could easily get by for a while with fish and wild fruits. But loneliness and guilt kept haunting him. Proving how tough he is doesn't seem as important as being with his family. That's his biggest takeaway from being here. Yet, Emil hasn't called the show crew. So, is he leaving or not? It's really stressing me out. It's now day 8, and Levi isn't as upbeat as when he first got here. He seems completely worn out. It's hard to believe that just a week ago, he was relaxing with coffee and videos. Now he's either hungry or hunting for food. Walking is tough. Overthinking will just mess with his mood. Better see if there are any fish in the net. If there's food, things will be okay. But from here, I can't even spot the net. Could the waves have washed it away? The more I think, the worse I feel. Levi speeds up to check below. After scanning the area multiple times, he finally sees the net. Rushing to retrieve it, he finds a squid wriggling inside. This makes Levi incredibly happy. He quickly pulls up the net. Wilderness survival is just full of surprises. No one can predict what's next. After some effort, there's finally fish to eat, with 2 already prepared. There are 3 more waiting in the net. Life is looking up again. Alan has collected a lot of moss to put on his bed. He used to use wood for the floor, but now he's trying stones. He thinks it will be better for his back. And with a little adjustment, it can be a lounge chair. He can sit or lie down to relax. Besides finding food, you also need to figure out how to make yourself comfy. But if he slips, wouldn't he get badly hurt? He's quite satisfied with his shelter. If only he could invite someone to stay for a night. Now, handling wood is much easier too. Stein plans to make a fishing rod to stay a few more days. If he can cast into deeper water, he'll feel much more secure. But something went wrong, and all his fishing gear got tangled up. Untangling it took ages, so now he's relying on the fishing line, which he trusts more than the net. If he catches 1 fish a day, he'll be content. I doubt he'll manage, though. He should focus on fixing the net instead. Now Stein is at the shore, tying the rod to a floating log. This way, it can reach deeper water, increasing the chances of fish swimming by. The idea is solid, but the throw falls short. He might as well place it in the water himself. He figures it's good enough. Now he just waits for nature's gift. Anmei usually stays in her shelter, but with the good weather, she dries her clothes. Lately, she caught just 1 fish, not enough to regain her energy. To save strength, she spends a lot of time daydreaming, but lying down only makes her feel more exhausted. She looks really worn out. Anmei forces herself to get up and cook some meat. She slowly roasts the fish on an iron rack. She enjoys the scenery outside. While enjoying her meal, she found the bed in the shelter uncomfortable and decided to make a hammock for more comfort. The weaving method hasn't changed. It's still about hanging things up. Given his current state, it's hard to imagine lasting a whole month here. Maybe the others will quit early. I have to say, though, weaving with dark eyebrows actually works. Lying on it is quite comfortable. If not for the strong nighttime winds, I'd enjoy sleeping here. You'd think he was on vacation, not a survival challenge. You'd think he was on vacation, just missing a good meal. The camera then moves to Alan. Today doesn't seem to be going well for him. He looks unwell, but it's unclear if it's physical or mental. Anyway, he's feeling uncomfortable. Despite this, he still wants to keep going. He thinks it might be because of the bed. He tries to make a new bed to see if it helps. Luckily, he finds a long wooden plank by the shore, and it's not too hard to put together. Essentially, it's just stacking materials. First, I saw the plank into equal parts to easily lay them on the tree branches later. Then, inside the shelter, figure out the bed size and lay the planks flat on top. The result looks like this. Even though it's a bit shaky when you lie down, it's way better than the bare ground. Too bad we don't have enough planks. Otherwise, we could have made a proper floor. Alan is securing it with stakes on both sides and making some tweaks. Overall, it looks decent, but it was a lot of work. Now, even setting up the bed seems daunting. I just want to wrap up and get some rest. Alan is debating whether to quit. He's completely worn out. But deep down, he wants to keep going and shouldn't quit yet. Loon, on the other hand, has no such worries. Whenever he's hungry, he just grabs some fish. Food is still plentiful, so he even cooks on the beach. I'm just wondering, aren't there any bears here? And he didn't use any seasoning either. This year's participants seem to prefer that pure, natural taste. Savoring the meat's aroma and the view, life's good as long as I can catch fish. I can hold out for quite a while, especially since my shelter is well built. Right now, the loneliness isn't too overwhelming. At the moment, homesickness isn't enough to make me quit. Levi works harder the more confused he gets. It's his way of staying focused. He plans to build a new shelter today, and you can see it's a huge task just by its size. Levi is already winded from trying to lift it. He's going to need to gather more materials next. I suggested making it smaller to save energy. He could save a lot of energy this way, but he's determined to go all out. Let's get the tarp up first. At least make sure there's a spot to sleep tonight. The tarp's too small, so we'll need a different setup. There's a big open area nearby. He tried to measure it, but it looks worse now. Leeway feels his body is at its limit. Continuing like this is just torturing himself. Even though he ate 5 fish today, he still feels completely drained. He still wants to push through and rebuild the shelter, even though he feels awful. Maybe he should just rest for a day instead. Perhaps a night's rest will help. At the moment, Leeway is so weak he might faint. He even called a doctor to check on him. It's uncertain if his body can hold up. We don't know if Leeway can keep going. Anyway, Emil is really leaving. He just wants to quit the challenge and go home to take care of his pregnant wife. I can't be this selfish. Avoiding reality won't do anyone any good, but it's almost dark now. Packing up and leaving at night isn't wise. Let's wait until morning when the show crew returns on the 9th day to take everyone home. Leeway is utterly drained and can't stay. The doctor even told him to leave. Staying isn't an option. Something unexpected is likely to happen. Leeway was already unsure about leaving, but with the doctor's advice, staying means he won't win the prize. Might as well head home early and rest. Leeway is packing up the shelter again, hopefully for the last time. If he doesn't set up the shelter right from the start, he'll waste more time and energy later. He likely won't join again. I hope Leeway recovers soon. He's stronger than most, but the shelter problem is really taking a toll on him. I'm wondering why Emil is still on the show when he keeps saying he wants to go home. How much longer do you think he'll stay? Let's wait and see together.